Hey everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. I get asked all the time, what's my favorite turntable? Which one would you recommend for me? Now, there's a lot that goes into recommending a turntable. I mean, do you want an automatic? Do you want a manual? Do you want a novelty turntable? Do you want a functional kind of audio fidelity centric turntable? It really depends. But inevitably, the turntable we're going to take another look at today comes down on that list to a very, very good position every single time. This is the Audio-Technica LP3. I've had it now for a year or two, so I thought I'd let you know what my thoughts are after using it as my daily driver for some time. You're not going to want to miss this.
Welcome to Record-ology.
Okay guys, so one of the questions that we get asked all the time, what's the favorite turntable of yours that you reviewed in these years of doing all of these reviews? Which is interesting because I always go back to the fact that we never set out to do a channel of equipment reviews. It was never designed to be that way. We were just going to play records, talk about finding records, and then have one or two turntables to play them on. But the focus was never going to be on unboxing and reviews. However, that's what people wanted, so we did more of them, and it was a lot of fun. And I've learned a lot about turntables, more than I ever could imagine. This is at the top of the list. I would say this is probably one of the top two turntables I've ever reviewed. It's not the most expensive by any means, but as I'm going to show you here in a minute, it just is a great turntable. So I've had it now for a good year, probably a little more than that. And I wanted to sort of share with you my thoughts a year in, using this as my daily driver, so to speak, listening to it almost every single day. So it's almost perfect. It's an almost perfect turntable, but not quite. So let's go top down. The dust cover, it's a clear dust cover with a slight blue, I don't know if you can sort of see it in the corners, sort of a slight blue cast to it. It's pretty much clear, just like all polycarbonate dust covers. It's an absolute magnet for scratches. I'm sure it's not showing up, but you can see sort of these hairline scratches. I always say don't touch the dust cover, or don't stack anything on the dust covers. Don't put records on there. It's so tempting just to go like that. And that's all I've ever done with this, and it still has somehow come away with scratches. So the dust cover, it's a good thing. I like the fact that it's hinged. I do not like the kind that you have to take off separately. Somebody commented recently on the LP7 how it's sort of a lid. This one hinges. I definitely like that about it. Hinge up out of the way. And then when you're ready for it to come down, it comes down. It's got these soft rubber pieces right here so that it rests gently. You can pull it off if you want it completely off. But yeah, love, love, love the way that they do that. I think it's a simple thing, but it's effective. So that's the dust cover. Next, let's look at the platter mat. It comes with a super heavy rubber platter mat. And as you can see, this looks filthy. Unless you run it underwater, you're not going to be able to brush that kind of dust off. And it's an absolute dust magnet. Like, see these particles right here? Like, even if I wipe my hand over them, it doesn't make any difference. So that's kind of annoying. There are grooves. See how it goes in? That's for 7-inch records, so you can kind of get your fingernail, the edge of your finger under it a little bit. That's why it's sort of got a channel right there. And it's effective. I mean, people swear by rubber platter mats, and this is the heftiest, thickest, and it's probably, oh gosh, if a regular platter mat's 2 mil thickness, this is 3 millimeters, I would say. It's definitely thicker. And it does the job. And I've sort of reset this back. I've taken the different upgrades and things I've done to it, or personalization, I wouldn't call them upgrades, off. So I like to put on my white platter mat, my white acrylic platter mat. It really matches this nicely. Now, for those of you that remember my first review of the LP3, you'll say, wait a minute, wasn't it a black unit? Yes, it was. I had the black LP3, which I thought I preferred, and I either blew out the preamp on it or something went weird. I had multiple turntables plugged into one switchable input, and I think that I might have backed line voltage into it and blown out the preamp circuit, which was my fault. But anyway, really good warranty on these, so I was able to get an RMA, a replacement, but they only had the white one. So I was like, I don't really want a white turntable. But I've since grown to really appreciate and love the white color. I think that it's fantastic, and with a white platter mat on it, it really, really looks sharp. So the Audio-Technica LP3 is sort of halfway in between an LP60 and an LP120. An LP60 is like $100-ish. Now it's the LP60X USB, and there's a few different versions of it. It's like the kind of universally recommended starter turntable for about $100. It's got a magnetic cartridge. It's fully automatic. It's fantastic. And the LP120, which is like $260 range, we've also reviewed those. This is sort of in between because it gives you that automatic functionality, a lower price point in the lower 200s, but you can upgrade the cartridge, you can set the tone arm. It's just got a little bit of those features only found on the LP120. At its heart, the way I'm using it, especially sort of this out-of-the-box mode, it is essentially a larger LP60, which is a good thing in my opinion. All right, let's look at the Platter. One of the things I've learned that I require in terms of a turntable that I would take seriously and want to use personally is that it has a metal Platter. And the LP60 does, LP120, LP140, all that stuff does. Crosley C100, C200, those all do as well. Aluminum. In the past, I've stated they're steel, and some of them are, but for the most part, they're actually aluminum. It's a lot of aluminum in one place, so it doesn't feel as light as you would imagine aluminum to feel. That's sort of why I assumed it was steel, but it's a must. So the Crosley T400, which is a variant of the LP60, has a plastic platter. I can't get into a plastic platter. You need that inertia. You need that mass inertia so that when it starts spinning, it wants to stay spinning, and the motor inconsistencies don't affect the speed. That's important to have that. So that's a requirement for me. This one obviously has it as well. This Platter, I believe, is identical to the one on the LP60. All of these turntables are made by a company called Handpin Turntables out of China. They make the Crosley C100, C200. They make almost all the Audio-Technicas, including the LP120, 140s, the LP60s, this LP3. Great factory for turntables. So you'll see 4 punch outs. We've got the 2 here, which make for nice, finger grips. It also lines up with this little screw down here, a little bolt. I'm not sure what that's for. And then these 2 larger ones, and you can see it lines up with the motor pulley. And you may say, why are there 2? Well, the reason is that if there was only one, the weight distribution would be off. The main reason why we need that bigger punch out is to remove the belt. So let's go ahead and do that now. So this, as well as its little brother, the LP60, are belt-driven turntables. So we're going to go ahead and pull this belt right off there and rest it on the sub-platter, which is that inner rim. We'll look at the bottom in a minute. The motor that they use on these is literally the same motor that's in almost every turntable these days, everything from suitcase players on up. It's a very, very common JYK motor. Does fine, does a great job. So once we have it, removed, the belt removed there, we can simply grasp right here and lift straight up and off. Okay. And under there is well, first, before we do that, let's look at the bottom of the Platter. So again, this is an aluminum Platter. You'll notice, what the heck? Are those strobe markings? Could that possibly be strobe markings? And why is it on the bottom of the Platter? I'll tell you in a second. Yeah, the sub-platter is this inner rim here where the belt lives, and that's all there is to it. It looks like it's cast aluminum, which is the standard. It's got good heft to it, certainly enough to give it good mass inertia so that any electric motor has variations in speed. They could, translate it into wow and flutter. And if with a plastic platter, like that thing that Via Westlife just reviewed, just a deal killer for me, because with a plastic platter, that motor, it's such a light platter that those motor inconsistencies are going to translate right through to speed, therefore pitch inconsistencies. So that's not a good thing at all. So for me, the metal Platter is a must. Now on a suitcase player or an all-in-one where it's more of a novelty thing, more just, a record player for the fun of it, not as big of an issue. But if you're looking at a turntable that you're really buying for sound more so than styling, then you want a metal Platter. So here is the inner workings. This is a fully automatic turntable. Now don't let that turn you off, because a fully automatic turntable can also work as a fully manual turntable. Whereas an LP120 series turntable or a C100, those are fully manual and you can't do the automatic functions, whereas this you can do both. But in order for the automatic functionality to work, this mechanism is designed to make that happen. It's the same mechanism that's been used since the 90s on everything from Iowas to Sony's to the Audio Technicas to the Crosley automatics. It's a tried and true design, metal parts, plastic parts, and it gets the job done very well. When you start taking turntables apart, you'll notice evidence of features that may not necessarily be used. As we talked about a minute ago, this Platter has strobe markings for turntables that may specify this exact part, but have the ability to, measure the speed of the Platter via some sort of optical reading system, or sometimes they use even a mirror. It just depends. This turntable does not have that. It's a set it and forget it, a fire and forget it mentality on turntable speed, which we'll get to in a minute. So you can't, it doesn't have that speed adjustment that you can do on the fly, so to speak. And I'll show you how you can set it and adjust it if needed. A couple of things under here. So you got the rubber mounts for the motor, and you'll notice the motor's far away from the tone arm. That's because you ideally want to separate the vibrations from a motor from being picked up in the tone arm and transmitted down through the system. Another look, I'm not going to go through all the components here, but essentially these are the pieces that make up an automatic turntable. A lot of it has to do with the position of the Platter. As you can see, it transmits via gear bearings, positioning on the Platter, and it knows when it's spinning, when it's not, all that good stuff. The great thing about an automatic turntable is you just push a button and it's amazing. Full automatic push button operation. Until you've tried it, you really don't know what you're missing. But when you have an automatic turntable, you really want to stay in that world because it's a good thing. All right, I'm going to go ahead and leave the Platter off actually, so that when we flip things over, we don't have the Platter falling off, because it doesn't use an E-clip like we've seen in other turntables. It literally just rests on top of there. Also, we're going to get to the tone arm in a minute, but you'll notice that I've got this rubber twist tie around here. The tone arm just rests in that position there. So if you don't have something holding it down, when you are moving it, transporting it, even just carrying it into another room, this has a tendency of just popping off, and that is not a good thing because your stylus can, smash into stuff. Not good. You can see it's been stayed in pretty good condition through the couple of years I've had it, or the year and a half I've had a little bit of gunk down there. It's white, so everything shows up very, very noticeably, but it's, stayed remarkably clean. Still got good wet grease where it should. It's a very silent mechanism. It works great. All right, with everything turned or tightened and the Platter out, let's go ahead and look on the bottom side. One of the design cues I really like about this is that the bottom is curved. It's not flat. It's got a nice curvature to it. And as you can see by the pivot that this just did, the dust cover itself has a domed effect to it. So overall, it's got sort of this hamburger shape that I kind of like. All right, the feet, they're kind of round. It looks like a wheel. These plastic cups are decorative. They are recessed. They don't actually touch. They've got sort of this chrome strip around it. But the real foot is in here. It's sort of a rubbery plastic, flexible plastic with these little nubs on there. There's a single screw connecting it right there. It does the job. Never had any issues with it. It's not the most noise dampening foot I've ever seen on these. From the front, or from, when it's in position, you can't see this inset piece. You just see this. So it looks like a good, substantial foot. The plastic is a textured, sort of a knurled texture to it, which I like. I think that helps with the fingerprints. There are a couple of speed adjustments. Let's take a look at that. This angle also shows the foot in a little bit more detail, as well as the texture that I was talking about in that plastic. So you can adjust the speed. It's a 2-speed turntable, 33 and 45. So with a very small, and I mean a jeweler's screwdriver, you can make adjustments to speed. I think there's a little foam pad. You stab the screwdriver through that, and about 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch down in there is a little trim pot. So you just adjust it. I would caution you, unless you have a pretty significant speed issue, which you shouldn't out of the box, don't try to fine tune this too much, because it's a slippery slope once you start adjusting this. Plus the fact that it's on the bottom of the turntable. Think about the logistics involved in adjusting speed on this. You have to have it hanging over the edge of a table. with the screwdriver up from underneath, blindly adjusting it with a strobe mat on top, because there's no strobe markings on the platter that are useful for us. As you can imagine, it's a tricky thing. But if you need to make those adjustments, you can do that right here. Okay, and now we're at the back of the turntable. As you can see, it just takes AC power. You don't need to use a wall wart with this, which is a welcome change from a lot of modern turntables. That being said, because it's transforming that power from AC to DC on the inside of this unit, there is necessary shielding for that power supply, which works fine. There's no interference that I've ever detected. It does have a permanently attached audio out, which I wish it didn't. I wish it just had plugs, because that way you could upgrade the cable. You get a very sufficient, thickly gauged cable with a grounding terminal. If you are using an external preamp, which this will allow you to do, I'll show you in a minute, you'll want to connect this to that preamp. Now, if you're not using an external preamp, you don't need to worry about it. Just connect this into your powered speakers or your stereo input. Now, like I was saying before, this does have a built-in preamp. And for those of you that don't know, when you're using a magnetic cartridge that you'll find on higher-end turntables and mid-grade turntables, you have to use a preamp because the cartridge itself is outputting a lower than line level signal. So a stereo input, powered speakers can't hear it essentially. So a preamp circuit boosts it to line level. So if you put it on phono mode, you can use an external preamp, and we've talked about those in the past. But if you don't have one, can't afford one, don't want one, no problem. Just flip it to line level, which is what we'll do today, and it'll use a built-in preamp circuit. You'll also see an MM and an MC switch here. It's set to MM, which is moving magnetic, which is the type of cartridge that we're going to be using. MC is for moving coil. It's another higher end cartridge. So the difference is that with a moving magnetic cartridge, the magnets obviously move, hence the name moving magnetic, and the coil is stationary, where with a moving coil, the magnets are stationary and the coil moves. Moving coil cartridges are more expensive, harder to come by. It's kind of odd that they would put this on a mid-range turntable like this, but if you wanted to upgrade the cartridge to a moving coil, you could do so, and here's where you adjust that. The reason why it needs to be specified in the back is that a moving coil cartridge outputs an even lower voltage than moving magnetic. Okay, I want to talk for a minute about this cartridge. This is an Audio Technica, obviously, AT-91R. This is about a $35 cartridge. It's an excellent cartridge, and I think that it's important to talk about this for a second because I get a lot of questions on upgrading cartridges, and certainly we reviewed a few on the channel in the past. But when you don't need to upgrade to a super expensive cartridge to really get good sound. The bottom of the barrel Audio Technica 3600L is similar to this. It is a fine phono cartridge that sounds amazing. This is one step higher, sort of. It's $35 versus about $15 for the other. It has dual moving magnets. It captures the full range of human sound, or human hearing, I should say. So 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. It uses a conical 0.6 mil stylus, so it's a little bit finer than a regular LP micro groove stylus, which is 0.7. So it'll get a little bit finer detail, but the moving magnets is really an upgrade. So instead of one magnet, it's got two. It will deliver fantastic sound, even though you can easily upgrade this. This is simply a 1/2 inch mount right here. Even though it's angled, this is the same 1/2 inch mount that you're going to find on like an LP120 or something of that nature. Obviously, you have this angled head shell due to the fact this is a straight Tonearm turntable. So you can replace it with a similar angled head shell, or you can just loosen those screws there and put any cartridge on that you want. As long as it's moving magnet or moving coil, this turntable has you covered. I have never had to upgrade this needle once. It's still the factory needle. And like I said, it is conical. It's not elliptical. So it's a rounded tip essentially versus more of a sharp linear tip stylus. And for me, this works absolutely phenomenal. Sort of the rule of thumb I say when it comes to elliptical versus conical styli is that if you have a dirty older record, I would recommend a conical because it doesn't quite get as far down in that groove. If you have a pristine brand new pressing, an elliptical gets all the way down, fills that groove more completely, and therefore reproduces more of those frequencies. But this one works just fine. Let's go ahead and tour down the Tonearm here. I still have this twisty tie on here for storage. I guess I can take that off now because we've already looked underneath. This is a nice sort of kind of a bread tie, but it's like rubberized, which works really well for this. You'll see that little loop right there. That's actually designed, to use a little twisty tie. This one's a little too thick for that. Straight tone arm, as we said before, with an adjustable metal counterweight. It is color matched, so this one's white, but that is metal. The front piece is plastic, and we've talked before about how to set this. This cartridge tracks between 1.5 and 2.5 grams, so I've got it set at 2. And it's a very simple gimbal, as you can see there. There's not much to it, but it's effective. It's also got an anti-skate, which I have it set manually, so instead of matching the value of the counterbalance, which is a starting point, I've gone in there and calibrated it to the position that worked for me. You can see a little bit of that dust. It is a bit of a dust magnet. It does have a cueing lever, so when you want to manually operate the tone arm, you can do that just like a regular record player. See how that rest comes back down and keeps lowering? See how it went up? Now watch, if I lower it, it keeps coming down below, which is good. Cheaper turntables, they don't go all the way down. And what ends up happening is it stakes up too high, just enough that the tone arm doesn't fully lower and then the record skips. So making sure that's down and out of the way is a good thing. All right, that's about all there is to it. Let's go ahead and test it out. Okay, so I've got everything connected. We've got the mat back on there, the belt placed back on the pulley. That was super easy. And I'm using Crosley S100 powered speaker off to the right here. Today's video is in mono, so I'm not doing a stereo speaker. We're just going to listen ambiently in the room. I believe we've already done direct feed on this. I think it's unnecessary for today's video. If you like the music that you hear on today's show, stay tuned to the end of the show because I will tell you exactly where it came from. And I think it's some really cool stuff. I think I'll put links in the description below where you can pick up some of this music. One more thing I didn't cover early. You'll notice this little indent over here. That's for the 45 adapter. It comes with those terribly cheap plastic ones. That was the first thing I upgraded. Just put an aluminum one there. Invest in a decent 45 adapter. It's really rewarding when you do. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. Alrighty, so let's play some music. To operate this turntable is extremely simple. And all you need to do is pick the size of the record, which is 7-inch or 12-inch. As you can see, we have a 12-inch record, so I'm going to flip that switch. These automatic turntables are very identifiable by where these switches are. The Iowas, the Sonys, the Crosley, all of them have switches pretty much in the same place. Again, because of that very, shared design of that mechanism. So it's a great, fun turntable. We're using a 12-inch here. The speed control is here, so it's either 33 or 45. In this case, putting it in the out position because it's a 33 RPM record. And then down here, you've got start and stop. Now, initially, I'm going to show you how to operate this in automatic mode. And then if you remember earlier, I said if you want to have a manual turntable experience or play a weird size record, then you can do that as well. And I'm going to show you that in a minute, so stay tuned for that. But to start with, let's talk about just basic operation. So I hit start. That's all there is to it. Because I said it was a 12-inch record, it knows where to place the tone arm, where to drop that needle, and the music comes forth. And we'll hear it on our speaker here, again, ambiently in the room. And if I wanted to cue up a different position in the record, let's say, this is track number 1, which is cool, but what I want to do is I want to go a little further in. I want to go to, say, track number 2, 3. I want to go about that far in. Just lift the cueing lever, rotate it over. It just becomes an automatic turntable at any time in the process. And now we're back to playing the music. It's as simple as that. I still have those automatic controls, so I can hit stop, and it'll return the tone arm. And I can hit start again, and it would cue it up right to the beginning. This turntable doesn't cue. Some really high-end automatics will let you skip tracks like a CD player. This one doesn't. So if you wanted to start down in the record a little bit, then you would need to put it in manual mode. It would still automatically return. It would still allow you to manually return it with a button, or you can always just lift the lever as well. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the stylus. One thing, and I say this is a nearly perfect turntable. What is wrong with it? Well, the dust cover isn't really its fault because all dust covers are that way. Polycarbonate plastic is susceptible to scratching. But one issue that I do have is that this cueing lever, even though it still works fine, this cueing, I should say it's a hydraulically damped cueing system. the fluid, I believe, is either dried out or gone down, so that if I flip this down like really fast, it drops pretty fast. It's not like a rock, but it does drop pretty quick. So it would need to be topped off. You can pop this cap off and top off the fluid. It's really not that big of a deal. So really it is a perfect turntable. Now that I think about it, it's not really even a fault. That's just a maintenance thing. After a year or two, you may need to put some more fluid in there. Let's listen to it a little bit. Great turntable. It just works really, really good. One thing with an automatic return, if you let this play to the middle, obviously it's going to sense that it's close enough to the spindle and come back. You probably couldn't play a 3-inch record on this because it would just reject, thinking it was, past the label. But you can play funky size records with this. So one thing you'll notice is that the size and speed control are completely independent of each other. So if you have, and I don't want to say, as soon as I say it's an odd size or type of record, people are going to be like, oh, it's not odd. Here in the States, it's sort of odd to find a 45 like this with a small hole, but no problem here. It's a 7-inch record. It happens to be, is this 33? Actually, I think it might be. It kind of negates my argument. But anyway, you know what I mean. If you have a large hole, small hole, use the adapter, 12-inch, 7-inch. If you have a 12-inch 45, you can do that as well. Just set it accordingly, and this thing will go to town. So we're going to play a little bit more. This record here, I believe this is a 33, actually. I believe it is. 33s, 7-inch records with small holes is more common here in the U.S. I know in the UK, their 45s also have a small hole. So all of that is a pretty common use case. As I said before, this little indent in the rubber platter mat is perfect for pulling off a record, 7 inches. But what if I want to play a 10-inch record? Now, obviously, this doesn't play 78 RPM. We talked about that. But there are still a lot of 10-inch 33s. And I suspect some 10-inch 45s. This is a 10-inch 33 RPM. Now, obviously, if I set it at 7 or 12, it's going to drop the needle in the wrong place. So in this case, I can't use the automatic functionality to start the record. So I need to manually cue it up. So I'm going to go like this, cue it right to the beginning, assuming that's where I want it to start. And I can lower down. Now, if to negate the issue of running out of damping fluid, you can just gently lower this. You don't have to flip it and rely on that hydraulic fluid. You can just slowly go like this and get that very smooth effect. One of the upgrades from the original LP60 to the LP60X and carried over in the LP3, which is the newer version of the LP2 that came before it, which was similar to this, it does have by nature a more gentle descend on the tone arm than the originals did. But if you're out of damping fluid, you're out of damping fluid. This one still isn't that bad, but I'm going to lower it gently. And, oops, a little too close to the edge there. This is a 60s radio transcription. Till that vinyl's a little noisier. This actually has, I think this is a locked groove record.
And if you met him at his first picture, then you know he's pretty extraordinary. And in Flipper's new adventure, he really outdoes himself as he rescues his friend Sandy from danger in the Caribbean Sea. He plays host to a family.
Like I said before, we can't automatically start a 10-inch record with a button push on this, but we can certainly stop it like I just did, or the lead out will work as well. In fact, let's go ahead and, this has a locked lead out, so it's not a good example of how to set that off. This is literally designed for radio DJs to cue something up while they're doing something else, and it just spins in a locked lead out and doesn't go on to the next track until they're ready. So it's kind of an interesting record. But let's say, okay, that's fine and dandy, but what if I have a 5-inch or a 6-inch record? Will it work? Now, this is a 78 RPM record, so this is for demonstration purposes only. Obviously, 7 inches is only going to take it to there. It's not going to be quite far enough. So, again, you'll see I didn't even use a tone arm. I didn't even use a cueing lever. I just grabbed the lift on the cartridge, and I can set it anywhere I want. I can still use this. But the point is that you can cue up any size record. You can fully manually operate it. Well, nearly fully, because you can't shut off the auto return at the end. So it's going to be semi-auto or auto. But essentially, the most commonly used manual functions are available on this turntable. All right, my friends, and that's it. Still a fantastic turntable. Now, if you want to get one, it's a little tricky right now. They are not discontinued. They are very much still available, still in production, the white and the black, from what I understand. But there is a major parts supply issue due to the current situation that we're all in right now. So what that means is that there are certain parts that are making the backstock or making the restocking of this product and others very difficult. Much of Audio-Technica's product line right now is on back order from China. So it makes it hard for us. The Amazon warehouses are out of stock. And if they do get one in stock, they're selling them at higher end prices. So right now, Amazon's got some of these for $350 in black, new. However, this should only normally be like $199 to $210, $220 tops. So it is a markup based on the part shortage. So you may look for one used or just hang tight. They'll get back in stock eventually. They're still reeling. There's part shortages on so much stuff right now. New cars are missing parts. I know that many car companies have hundreds of thousands of vehicles waiting on their chips because there's just this massive back order problem on Chinese chips. So that being said, you can find them if you're patient, you want to wait for a new one, or if you want to pop for the $350 right now and grab a black one, new, otherwise look used. So there's that. A highly recommended turntable. I might just put this back in today because I now that I'm going through it, I'm like, this is great. I missed this thing. I want to play it. Now, we're not done yet. We are going to take a look at some of this music we demoed today in a little bit more detail. I got some unboxings I want to share with you. You guys have been so generous and have sent in so many records lately that I have been happily forced to compile the unboxings and sort of piggyback them on other shows, which I think is kind of fun. So you get sort of a 2-for-1. So I got 3 unboxings coming your way right now. An amazing surprise was waiting for me at the mailbox today. I am so excited. This is thick too. I love it. See a present as a child and just by the shape and you're like, this can't be closed. This is going to be something good. And when I see something like this, I'm like, this is going to be good. So thank you so much. Before I even know what's in it, thank you so very much. Oh, cool. It's 1 box set. Great original hits of the 50s and 60s. Awesome. I was not expecting this whatsoever. I thought it was going to be individual records. I didn't know it would be 1 box set. I love these Reader's Digest sets. Cool. And I love this music too. These are artists that I really like. Patti Page, The Four Aces, Pat Boone, Perry Como, the Andrews Sisters. This is good stuff. Oh, this is awesome. I don't know if I've ever even seen this one before, but I love these sets. Cool. I think it's the greatest way to do, like a collection of music. These sets are so cool. And like we've talked about before, made by RCA, super high quality. Let's take a look at one of the discs. And it's numbered sleeves. I mean, it's just genius. Just genius. Oh, yeah. These are good. RCA custom. Very nice. Stereophonic. That is phenomenal. Thank you so much. I know this costs a lot of money to send this stuff, and I just want to thank you for thinking of us. Very much appreciated. We'll get a lot of use out of this. 1974. Music of the 50s and 60s. This is great. Thank you so much. I love it. This one made me smile. You're not going to want to miss this. It's funny, when I started this channel, I never had the intention of having a catchphrase. It's just I noticed I started saying stuff repeatedly. So it's kind of funny. Some people have told me that they will actually just kind of jokingly say that as a catchphrase, with their family because they, recognize it from the show, which really, that's an honor. I think that's just crazy. That's awesome. And maybe that's actually the person that sent this in. That's really, really cool that said that to me. But that's a special kind of honor you never expect. Love from Scotland. That's awesome. A little flag there. So here we go. I have no idea what's in here, you guys. This is so cool. Okay. We got some little pieces of styrofoam. Polystyrene, probably. Yeah. We have a letter. Hi, Record-ology. I was recently going around a lot of charity shops. Okay, now I know exactly who this is from. Georgia Curry Vinyl. This is an amazing letter. Thank you so much. The thought of being an inspiration to somebody, again, I could have never imagined it. Thank you so much. And your channel looks great. Best of luck with it going forward. Definitely looking forward to seeing how successful I'm sure you'll become. So she says she picked this up in a charity shop and thought we would love it. So I can't wait to see what it is. I have no idea. Here we go. This is going to be fun. Cool! Glenn Miller, The Secret Broadcast. This is something I do not have. This is actually a very, very rare version of the Glenn Miller Secret Broadcast set that was later issued in the United States, but this is the original version. I've only seen pictures of it and read about it. What an honor. This is so cool. This is the original BMG version. So cool. That is a surprise. You got me. You really, really got me. What an honor. Thank you so very much for thinking of me. That is so cool. Look at this. Oh, this is too cool. This is awesome. You guys must have good charity shops there because this is excellent. And for those of you that, don't know too much about Glenn Miller, this is some of his music from when he was in the armed forces. He actually resigned his position as leader of his band in 1942, September, to volunteer for the Allied war effort, and went missing, fighting for all of our freedom. So this is amazing. No, I do not have this, and this is something I've only seen pictures of and assumed I would never find it. So excellent job. Thank you so very, very, very much. So it came with a very, very nice letter. Dan, thank you so very, very much. Absolutely. If there's a venue or somebody looking for a band, I will more than happily recommend you guys. I think your music is awesome. And to my delight, there was a lot more coffee in here. So I want to go through this. Records are fun, but coffee is essential. So we do have double chocolate. We have the Irish cream, but we have mint chocolate. That's destined to become my favorite. Chocolate orange. Cookie dough. Very vanilla. And gingerbread. So that is awesome. I am so excited to try that. All right, so here we go. These are albums. I'm excited to check it out. So again, this is Emil's telegraphic transmission device. Ambivalence in motion. I feel like you have to have a certain level of education and sophistication to even pronounce some of these words. But this album looks awesome. Number 183 of 250. Let's take a look at the pressing itself. Ooh, very cool. Beautiful record. Very, very cool. Very cool. Next we have Road, Rail, Air, and Sea. Love the artwork on this. This is so cool. So unique. Awesome. 2014. Cool. Look at this label. Guys, this is awesome. These pressings are very beautiful. I'm sure very high quality. They seem really well done. Attention to detail. That's huge. Not a lot of new record pressings are done well. Ooh, look at this. I love the color. All that may happen. Love it. This is so cool. All right, let's go ahead and open this guy up. Awesome. Really appreciate it, you guys. Thank you so much for sending me your stuff. It's an honor to get the chance to present talent like this in addition to the actual records. I mean, the talent alone is what's really exciting. Cool. Look at this. Oh, that is a beautiful label. That just looks beautiful. Wow. Gorgeous. Cannot wait to try all of these out. Give them a listen. Here we've got Adoration, Less Condemnation, and Mistrust. Another cool, unique design. And we'll feature all of this music in the future. This would be great for demonstrating new record players and such. So I look forward to doing that. All right. This one's super thick too. Beautiful. Really, really cool. Just love it. So excited. All right, we got one more. This is like I always say on these unboxings, this is like Christmas morning. Similar motif with like just beautiful. All right, let us take a gander. Awesome. Wow, look at that label. Very, very cool. Absolutely gorgeous. And that's just by appearance. So I cannot wait to get this listened. Again, thank you so very, very much for this as much as the records. Very much appreciated. And stay tuned, you guys. We'll definitely be giving this music a good sound test in the near future on this channel. Okay, guys, and that's going to do it. I hope you found this enjoyable. If you want an LP3, I wish you luck in your search. It may take a little bit of digging, a little bit of CSI work, but I think you'll find one. They are out there, and if you're patient, you'll definitely be able to buy them new before too long. Now, I want to thank everybody who sent us records to review. That's always such a joy. I love that so very much. So thank you for your kindness, for your generosity. You guys are absolutely awesome. If you want to support the show, we have a way where you can buy us a cup of coffee. That service is down below. That's sort of a virtual tip jar. Also, we have merch. I don't know if you know that, but we have shirts. We have all kinds of merch that also go to directly support the channel so we can buy cool things to review and share together. Anyway, guys, I just want to say thank you for being there, most importantly of all. And that's going to do it for today. Happy record hunting. We'll see you next time.